Now moving on to Batman Returns, 1992. Released in 1992, directed by Tim Burton once again. This film spawned a lot of controversy, and this is my favorite Tim Burton film of all time, probably, in all honesty. This film gets a lot of crap, but I genuinely like the tone. The first time I watched it, I didn't understand it. I didn't like how many things were splintered off, and my main criticism of the first one was it didn't focus enough on Batman. This one really doesn't focus on Batman. It really is based off the villains, and more importantly, it's more focusing on the Penguin. It's more of a movie about the Penguin than the Batman. But I think it still really works. It works wonderfully in my mind. I like how he took every single characterization of these characters, like Catwoman and Penguin, and made them like literally like a penguin or like a cat. I like that. I think some of the things don't age well. I think more of the Catwoman scenes don't age well. But I liked the costume. I liked how they took a bunch of trash bags and sewed them together. That was pretty cool. I liked every single villain. The three villains. There was you had Catwoman, who became Catwoman when she got shoved out a window. You had Penguin, Oswald Cobblepot. I thought that was really well done with how they tried to make him look like this compassionate guy, and how. But then it gets kind of weird in the middle half where he bites off the guy's nose. That was kind of weird. But overall, and then you have that last villain, the guy who's behind basically everything that pushed Catwoman out the window to begin with. All three of those villains combined, Max. All the three of those villains combined work for a really, really interesting story because they're all interconnected. And then you have the Batman. And this is where I have trouble with this film. That's why it's not a 10 out of 10 for me. It doesn't focus enough on him. It really doesn't. I mean, Bruce Wayne's barely in it. To be honest with you, it's mostly focused on Batman, which I'm fine with. But even then, it's not really focused on Batman. It's more, like I said, more a story about these villains. And that, I think, could have been done better. But overall, I'd give this film a 9 out of 10. I think it's much better than 1989 because the story's really interesting and different. And it shifts more to a focused angle on the character. I think it's a really interesting design for Penguin and Catwoman and Max. I think they're all really interesting designs. I think the way the acting was portrayed was pretty good in my mind. I think Michael Keaton as Batman was brilliant, but like I said, that the fact that he wasn't in it that much really was kind of like, it kind of dragged down the film a little bit for me. But overall, I think the villains really helped to emphasize how masterful this film really is. It's much more heavy of a watch than 1989. I'm more inclined to rewatch 1989 than I am to rewatch this film. But overall, I really enjoy this film. Overall, I really do. Like I said, the plot's really heavy. It really takes its time to explain each character in these stories, and I really like the ending too. But one of the things, and this is kind of hurts watching the film, was what could have came after in regards to Batman Forever. There was usually a planned Tim Burton Batman Forever, right? You're supposed to have Billy D. Williams as Two-Face. He played Harvey Dent in the first film. He didn't appear in the second film, which kind of sucks. But he just played Two-Face, and you had Robin Williams as Riddler. And I think that could have really worked. Could have been like a really dark Riddler, almost like Paul Dano's. You could have had that. And then obviously that entire plan fell apart because of parents. That film was not meant for kids. The only reason why parents thought it was because twofold. They grew up with the 1960s version, and that's what they saw. And even I'll describe it that way. That's what they saw, and that's what they got to know. And then when they see something completely different, people get like whenever people see something completely different, throws them off, throws them for a loop. Either they really enjoy it or they're really offended by it. And number two, the McDonald's commercials. Come on, man. It's not a kids movie. Why with the McDonald's commercials? But that was a mistake, I think, on McDonald's part and Warner Brothers' part of releasing that kind of as a kids film. It was not a kids film. It is not. A guy's nose gets bitten off. There's some disgusting scenes in there. I wouldn't, and it's kind of scary to like let's say a 6-year-old. So I wouldn't recommend that for a kid. But overall, it was a really well done film. And then the film after that could have been something really, really in-depth where they actually focused on Batman, Michael Keaton's Batman, and they could have focused on all of these really important things of who should he be Batman or anything like that. and you could have had some two dark villains, and the tone could have really worked. And I really was sad that they didn't do that film. Instead, we got Batman Forever, which I'll talk about in the next video. Which I still love that movie. I still really love that movie, but it just, God, man, what we could have gotten really would have been a lot better in my mind. I think honestly, Robin Williams, may he rest in peace, would have been a great Riddler, much better than Jim Carrey, much better than Paul Dano, I think, in my mind. But it played, I'm losing, I completely forget the name. It was like that, where he's kind of like that serial killer, and they have that detective. If you don't remember the name, put it in the comments, please, because I'm blanking on the name of the movie. But he's like, he's talking about like this detective's like trying to get, I think he's trying to get a confession out of him or something like that. And they're talking on the boat, and there's that really significant scene where he's talking about like the trees and stuff. But we could have gotten something like that. That would have been really interesting. That, and along with Billy Dee Williams' Two-Face, which I think could have been actually much more serious and much more, they took much more care with him versus, God, Tommy Lee Jones' Two-Face just sucked. It wasn't terrible casting, but the Two-Face itself just sucked. I'm sorry, but that's for another video. But overall, I'll give this film a 9 out of 10. Batman Returns, I think, really works in terms of accentuating its villains, but I think it fails in trying to make it a Batman film. I think it's more of a Penguin film to begin with. But I think that's just a problem with 1989. 1989 was more of a Joker film. This is more of a Penguin film. So that's really my thoughts and opinions on the video. Drop a comment. Number one, correcting me about that name of that film that Robin Williams did. I think it was early 2000s. I'm completely forgetting about. And then your favorite Batman film, your ranking of this film, and how do you feel about it overall. So, thanks.